if you're starting a brand, if you're willing to fight for it, you'll be around for 100 years.
Today, I'm speaking with Kim Lefko, Chief Marketing Officer at Ace Hardware, a 5,000 store strong retailer known for its neighborhood-focused service and promise of being the helpful place for everything from home maintenance supplies to gardening tools. What does that mean to be the helpful place, and why is that the positioning of the brand?
We exist to help others. We're building a business promise around that. We want to interact with you. We want to be face-to-face working with you on beautifying your home, fixing your home, and that level of service is a major differentiator.
How does that reflect itself in sort of the franchisor-franchisee model?
All of the stores and the owners own the company. We are the small guy. We're the local, and that autonomy of the store to be able to reflect the fabric of their neighborhood and community is...
Welcome to Top CMO. I'm chatting with Kim Lefko, CMO at Ace Hardware. And Kim, maybe a starting off point is lots of people know Ace Hardware. There's stores all over. You're trying to get people to think of Ace Hardware as the helpful place. What does that mean? It's also your 100th anniversary as well, 100-year anniversary. What does that mean to be the helpful place, and why is that the positioning of the brand?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for having us. And yeah, so we are 100 years strong, and we have over 5,000 Ace stores. And we like to say the ubiquity of Ace, that 80% of households are within 15 minutes of their local Ace. And I think for years, anyone that has stepped into an Ace store and interacted with one of our 90,000, we call them red vested heroes, I think you walk out saying, wow, they were helpful. And whether it was, looking for a certain widget to make a fix at home, or cut a key, mix a gallon of paint, or buy a grill that's going to be assembled and delivered to the home, Ace prides themselves in being helpful. And we've been doing it for 100 years, and we aim to do it for the next 100 years.
How does that reflect itself in, of course, I don't know if all of these stores or a very high percentage of these stores are franchisees. Obviously, they are operating them their own way. I imagine in your spectrum of franchisees, like, I don't know, some are super helpful and some are maybe not as helpful just by human nature. So how do you sort of bring that message through when in sort of the franchisor-franchisee model, everyone's their own business owner, yet you're trying to communicate something consistent about the brand?
Yeah, so Ace is a co-op, and the beauty of the co-op is all of the stores and the owners own the company. And I think that it's a different level of pride, and because of the ownership, they act in a way that the brand is really important to them. We often say the name on the front of the jersey is way more important than the name on the back. And that ownership, they take incredible pride to their legacy and their roots. And oftentimes we have Ace stores in their neighborhoods and communities that may be third or fourth generation ownership. And so as a result, I would say very little on the marketing side are we pushing to uphold the standard of the brand. They're very, very prideful in what has been started in their legacy and carrying that through. Now, as any marketer, we have a relevancy. We want to be relevant to today's consumer. We want to be relevant in today's market. And so as we roll out initiatives to the stores, we want them to adopt them, to connect and engage with their local community. But I think what makes Ace so beautiful is we are the small guy. We're the local. And if you enter an Ace store in Boston or Malibu, it is going to reflect the neighborhood and community feel. And so we may have fishing products in a store in Florida and surfing products in a store in California. And that autonomy of the store to be able to reflect the fabric of their neighborhood and community is the core essence of our brand and what makes us so special. But we're not a franchise, we're a co-op, and the stores own the company.
How much of that is a reflection of what Home Depot does or what Lowe's does or others? Because if they're going to go macro big box, you're going to do the opposite of that just to find white space.
We are in hot pursuit of 3 pillars, and that's service, convenience, and quality. Service in that we want to interact with you. We want to be face to face, belly to belly, and working with you on beautifying your home, fixing your home. And that level of service is a major differentiator. And we have won service awards. We're synonymous with help. We're synonymous with trust. And we will continue to execute and hold that up as a pillar of importance for our brand. The next is convenience. And I mentioned that at the beginning. We have 5,000 Ace stores across the country. We were excited to open our 5,000th store in the year that we turned 100. And we continue to open. I think we're one of the few retailers that every single year we're opening 100 plus new stores across the country. And we'll continue to do that because we want ubiquity. We want to be in every neighborhood and community across the country. And it's an incredible business model for us, people leaving corporate America and want to do something different. Opening a new store, we have a lot of new investors opening stores as a second chapter in their career, and so that continuation of opening stores we aim to do. And then quality is our third pillar, and quality is we have what we call our best brands. And we're one of the only national retailers that have the suite of brands that I think a lot of people know and love when it comes to their home, like Steel, Ego, Toro are some of the best brands when it comes to outdoor power equipment. Of course, you think of Yeti and Stanley in drinkware, Traeger, Weber, and Big Green Egg when it comes to grilling, and power tools, Milwaukee and DeWalt. You can't find Benjamin Moore. We're a paint brand, a paint house. When you think of buying paint, and I don't think there's any other national retailer that has those suite of brands, and they're high quality brands that customers seek out, and their local Ace has them.
How do you then think about if you're the helpful place, bringing that to light? I know you've done some things like docuseries. You've done some other things why is that important? Why is that, something that's key to the brand as opposed to just like a nice to have another campaign that you might do? In
celebration of our 100th, we launched a docuseries called Heartware. And it is 100 stories that we have documented in these short little mini films. And they're representative of every single state. And it was what we noticed is we have a heart to serve. And of course, inside the walls of an Ace store, you think of that in cutting keys, mixing paint, assembling a grill, delivering same-day delivery if you need a product. But we also noticed just the essence of the brand, this purpose of serving and helping was unfolding in unexpected ways. And so we thought, wouldn't it be fun to celebrate our 100th, but also showcase the story of Ace in a really feel-good, good news kind of way. And so those docuseries films, we have 100 of them. They are out on, we have a short little mini series put together that are streaming on the 4 main streaming networks, Apple TV, Google, Roku, Amazon, and you can view those. But just to give you a flavor, it can vary from, we took over a rooftop at a Children's Miracle Network hospital and at Christmas time, and we put together a Christmas village, and every child, they can't leave the hospital for Christmas, but they could come down and see Santa and hear a Christmas story and have a hot cocoa and pick out a Christmas tree to take back to decorate their room and have the feeling of Christmas when they're stuck in the hospital and battling like many children aren't. That's a story that, that we put together in a short film. It could be as small as, and I love this one, where a young associate, 18 years old, I think, his name is Sam, and a veteran came in and was shopping for a shovel. And the gentleman, Sam, the associate, said, "What do you need the shovel for?" And he said, "I'm burying my dog today." Now, Sam sold him a shovel, but he said, you should not be doing this alone. And he went out after work and helped this customer bury their dog. And it's stories like that times 100. And it is a very feel-good campaign, a Heartware, the Heartware stories, but it's the essence of Ace. We exist to help others. And it's inside the store and it's inside the communities across the country.
When you do something like that sounds like a significant investment, 100 stories, you're using video, you're streaming it. How do you sort of maximize the investment across channels, different types of content? I don't know if you're pulling that into other forms of advertising or marketing. How do you sort of, really bring it to life and get the most value from it you can?
It's on a shoestring budget. It's our inside video team, and production costs were very, very low. And it truly was, from a celebration perspective, it was an investment to put this out in celebration of our 100th. But, the beauty of social media, every single one of our stores has their own Facebook page, their own Instagram. And to use that content themselves on a local level, we got a lot of coverage. So an Ace in Kansas City with an amazing story, they got local pickup from their media. They got local pickup from their local news stations and newspapers. And that was happening in 100 communities, a hyper local story getting local. And then you stream it together, and that has a really nice presence for Ace. I also think when you think about PR, there's a lot of PR that's artificial and just trying to get a headline. But this type of PR is so authentic to the brand. We got really nice coverage and pickup as a result.
And it's interesting because we worked on a campaign when I'm not hosting podcasts. We have a global marketing agency. One we did for Milk-Bone, which is another 100-plus-year-old brand. Yeah, for pets. We created something called Dogs Who Changed the World. Seems similar in tone, but it was actually celebrating all of these dogs that were just like making incredible impact in people's lives because they were assisting in medical ways, or they were doing other things to cheer up a community, or they were helping, kids that have, very serious medical conditions or whatever it might be. We did that, and it was exactly the same thing. We sort of gathered all these stories. It was a national campaign, but then like every location where this dog was based, all of the TV crews wanted to come out. They wanted to feature it. And that was actually, it was the top CSR campaign in the world by PR Week that year because of all this sort of localize at scale, I guess is how we would describe it.
There's a need for good news, and there's a need for integrity and deep-rooted, authentic, genuine content connected to brands that doesn't feel commercial. And that was my, revelation just in traveling across the country for business purposes to get to know the local store owners, their legacy story, how they're doing in business in their community, and then realizing they are humble people, and they were stories that were hard to root up and uncover, because it's like, no, this isn't a big deal. This is just something we do. And, I and many others are like, no, you know what? We need to turn the spotlight on you because you are a hero. And the stories are just magnificent. So definitely go to Heartwear and check out the many stories that we have documented. As
a CMO in your career to get to this point, what is the best advice you ever received?
Oh, gosh, that's a good question. I think there's multiple. There's advice as a leader. And, at ACE, we define leadership as taking people to a place that they couldn't go on their own. And, some of the best leadership advice that I've received, especially in the world of marketing, is consistency is a superpower. I think too often in marketing, you want to change course. You want to try something new. The campaign is getting stale. And there's a wonderful thing in consistent pursuit of something great. And don't settle for good. Go for great. Go for extraordinary. And just continue to refine and have a consistent drumbeat. I think that holds true in leadership, especially in marketing. When I think about marketing in business and driving an impact, I love the formula of you can go in many different ways. And I love our formula that we use at ACE. And that is, there are 3 jobs to be done in marketing. 1 is drive and capture demand. Number 2 is when you get that demand, the best customer is the one standing right in front of you, either in a store aisle or on the website. And what are we doing to convert that customer to purchase? And then ultimately loyalty, like customers that love you, seek you, talk about you, those customers are the best customers, and you don't have to win them again because they want to discretionarily give you your money and their time. And that loyalty is often authentic. And so a loyal customer comes back. So drive demand, convert to purchase, build loyalty, that formula. Now the tactics may change. The tactics under demand 20 years ago are very different than the tactics under capturing and driving demand today in a highly digital world. And in what kept a customer loyal 10 years ago, maybe it was just price and value, but it's very different in aligning to my personal values, for example. And so that formula we love and we're consistent on. And that was great advice, given to me years ago, but be self-aware that the relevancy and the strategic tactics you use as a marketer will evolve and change. And you need to always do a pulse check every year, every couple of years.
What is the worst advice you've ever received?
Tailoring jobs to people versus, strategy drives structure. And it's hard. And I think listening to something Kevin Plank said from Under Armour, and this was years ago, is expedite the inevitable, especially when it comes to ridding your organization of mediocrity. And if you develop an organization around people, you may not be relevant for today. And think about a marketing organization 10 years ago and the competency and the skill set inside their organization versus data science and digital and SEO, SEM. The competency and skill set inside an organization needs to be relevant based on the marketing tactics. And it's a tough one when it comes to people, but I think that's really important.
Is there any insight you have? I mean, you're in a industry like hardware industry. You're a woman in a senior position in the hardware industry. Is there any special advice you have for maybe other women professionals or others in maybe industries that tend to feel like, oh, it's slanted one way?
I grew up on a farm, and I grew up in hardware. I started at DeWalt Power Tools out on job sites, and that evolved into grills, which is predominantly
at Weber. You were at Weber, of course.
At yes. Weber, that's right, at Weber. So you go from DeWalt Power Tools to Weber Grills to Ace Hardware. So I have deep roots in hardware. And I don't know if this advice is as much for women in male-dominated industries or just, be yourself. And I don't know if it's a professional maturity as you get older. You're very concrete in the value you add and understanding your own personal point of view in business, your own leadership point of view in marketing, but show up as yourself as opposed to trying to mirror a person that you're not. And, like I think about myself, I grew up very entrepreneurial, and that probably led me to a career in marketing where you need creativity. But I also grew up with an economics degree. And so I know that there's math matters. And in business, you keep score with money. We say that at ACE often. And so I think that the pulling those two things together maybe is the reason that I've had a very fortunate and blessed career of creativity from my entrepreneurialism and in math matters from my economics degree. Those two things melded together, I bring in every conversation. And that's advice for anyone, not just women in business or women in a male-dominated industry. Be true to yourself.
What has been your most challenging day in your professional life? Is there a moment that stands out where it was really difficult and you had to overcome it?
Every day brings a new set of challenges. And I would, I look at retail today in today's world. Capturing, demand is challenging. And I think when you look at same store sales and you look at transactions, we've been extremely fortunate at ACE this year to be outpacing the industry in same store sales. But anyone in marketing looking to capture traffic and capture a consumer's eye is probably a macro challenge, but everyone's facing it right now, especially in a world that I have 8 seconds to give you my attention. I'm unbelievably distracted, and there's a lot of multitasking. Like maintaining relevancy and maintaining the ability to capture that demand, I think goes back to authenticity and strong connection to loyal customers. And so I look at ACE today, we have a rewards program. And I would rival to say that it's probably one of the largest rewards program in all of retail. And having a very high integrity, extremely valuable connection to those rewards customers maintains that maybe an easier job of traffic driving. But that's a challenge. I think what keeps you up at night, a challenging day, any marketer tuning in, they're probably battling that. And it's something I think a lot about. And I am challenged by day after day, year after year. And it comes back to, where we started this conversation of stay true to the brand's purpose. We exist to help others here at ACE. Stay true to genuine, authentic relationships. Our rewards customers matter a lot to us. So I would say that's not a day that I think about, but a macro challenge that every marketer faces.
What do you think for other marketers, specifically in retail? What do you think that marketers miss that they would be wise to pay attention to if you're in the retail space?
The value of the customer that's shopping you now. And, we are a helpful brand. We are a brand of high trust. We are locally owned. So the customer that walks through that door, you matter a lot to the red vested ACE associate standing in front of you because it's a local business. To them, it's a matter of their livelihood. But I would say that's being lost in retail today. And it's our differentiator is service, but there are a lot of memes. There are a lot of, funny videos out there of what is service today, but that's a differentiator. And anyone in retail, belly to belly, face to face, I'm here to help you is, we're banking a lot on it at ACE because people matter. A personal interaction matters. And at ACE, we're building a business promise around that.
What about to those? We talked about industries, we talked about sectors. What about just what is your critical marketing channel or discipline or service that you think makes the biggest difference to ACE, from digital to physical to others? What is the marketing channel that you need to lean in on?
Well, there's never one. I would first start with, and I don't want to do the 4 Ps of marketing, but it first starts with, do you have a value product that people want? And we made a pivot, a few years ago that it wasn't about light bulbs and batteries and bug spray. It needed to become something more. And what we found is people wanted a lifestyle. People want to entertain in their home. And so we pivoted to, we assure ourselves, and we are in pursuit of ACE becoming the preferred destination for paint to beautify your home, power, which is power tools and outdoor power equipment, and barbecue. And there's a lot of fun to be had with grilling and outdoor, barbecue. And so that product pivot was a big one, and it's making a difference in our business. And then as we think about connection to our consumer, acehardware.com is an area that we've invested significantly, millions of dollars year over year, to make sure that it's fast, it's frictionless, and the fulfillment method, you get the product when you need it. Because we think we can actually be faster than Amazon and others on the products that we stock because of the ubiquity and in every household, or 90% of households being within 15 minutes of an ACE. And that level of convenience, I think, matters. Digital tactics, our mobile app is a differentiator and something that we've seen. Our app customer is a really sticky, valuable customer to us. And so as a result, we want to make sure that user experience is a great one. And so we put app extras inside the app and offers and previews that no other customer has.
Well, it's interesting you hear that because those are a lot of tactics that you could be more digital in nature. You can track them, you can measure them. But we opened up our conversation actually talking about more of a PR campaign, because we're talking about these documented stories and all of that local PR coverage. So do you think PR is important in the mix too, even as we spent a lot of this conversation talking about things that we can measure, that we can measure our acquisition rate, we can measure our demand, it's bottom line, but then PR is maybe harder than that, but do you think marketers should still focus on it? Because that's one of your big campaigns of the year.
It is. And the way that we think, I don't think PR is in the traditional sense of what PR was in the past. And PR merging with digital, PR merging with content is a way of connecting and engaging with consumers. And I think consumers are looking more and more of connecting to retailers where the values align with me. And so we put out a docuseries that's all around content that you may think about Ace and you never have before, or you may run across a store where you're like, I love what Ace stands for, like existing to help and serve not only inside that hardware store, but inside their communities. And small matters, local matters, and Ace is that. And the best way for us to showcase that was content in a docuseries. But guess what? It's going to show up inside the app, and it's going to show up on acehardware.com, and it's going to show up across all social platforms, as well as a streaming docuseries on new networks.
Well, and I think this idea, I like the notion of PR as a form of content or a channel for content, because so often we just think of, maybe PR is just like, this is the message we want to say, we put it out to the audience. But in a competitive world where there's a lot of attention to it, it's almost like you have to prioritize the audience first, meaning to earn the right to deliver your message, you have to give them something, which is content, that they're going to want to be interested in value. And if you do that well, then you get to, get the helpful place tagline and message and all of that riding along with it. But you've got to serve the audience first. That's why PR is now content.
Yes, Ben, I totally agree with that. And that's why maybe I'm probably saying it too much, but the authenticity, Ace is a place that people trust. When I go there, I trust I'm going to get the right answer. And what builds trust and what connects you and I are stories. And so that's what made the Hardware series. It's authentic, it's real, and it's only going to deepen the roots of trust with your local Ace Hardware store when you see a story like that.
Final question I want to ask you is just a question that relates to, I don't get to talk every day with a 100-year-old brand. And it gives you a unique perspective on that, on brands. What do you think in your mind does a brand stand for? What can other brands that don't have anywhere near 100 years learn from in terms of building out a brand, what it means to have a brand? How does the 100-year perspective give you some insight into what brands are and what brands can be?
Yeah, there's incredible nostalgia, right, that comes with the 100th year. And just not to go on a history walk, but our story started with 4 gentlemen coming together post-war to be competitive and serve their communities. And the very first day, it was like, okay, I can't buy competitively against the big retailers and the big competitors. So why don't the 4 of us come together and buy a truckload of sponges? And that was the start of Ace. And we were actually named after, the time of the war, the Flying Aces, coming out of the war. And so that was our start. Neighborhood, local, buying to be competitive, but to serve their neighbors and their communities. That's what we are 100 years later, only bigger. We're not 4, we're 5,000 stores across the country. And I would say for any brand, it's stay true to who you are, understand your roots and the ethos and the promise of your brand, and let everything flow from that. And at Ace, we exist to help others. And whether that's in buying sponges together to be competitive, or like it unfolds with these hardware stories, or you step into the store and you're looking for a color to paint your nursery because you're bringing your baby home, or you want to buy a grill because you're hosting the block party. We exist to serve and help our neighbors. And that's how we started 100 years ago. So if you're leading a brand, if you're starting a brand, stay true to one thing, the ethos and the heart and the soul of your brand. And I think if you do that authentically, if you're willing to fight for it, you're willing to compete and rid off the competition to preserve it, you'll be around for 100 years.
Well said. Kim Lefko, CMO, Ace Hardware. And here's to the past 100 years, and here's to the next 100 years.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thanks for having us.